I'm Phillip Andrew Lewis, and I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm here on a residency at the Bemis for a few months. Yeah, so my undergraduate degree is in psychology, and I think while I was working for some research teams as an undergrad, I began to come up with experiments that I wanted to see happen. My mentors helped me realize that it was probably best for me to be making art because I wasn't as concerned about as ethics and in general the end result that they were after. Yeah, that's what sort of led me to consider art full time. My work has primarily been site-based installation work for over 10 years. I really didn't show anything twice or anything in any second venue. It was always made for the place. Most of my work deals with some form of navigational control and leading people, whether they're aware of it or not, leading them through a space in a particular way or to a particular point within the space. Yeah, so I started planning before I got here, and I started making appointments and meetings because what I'm doing is often dependent on working with groups and populations in communities. I think for the first 2 weeks I had meetings maybe every day or every other day with different groups that ranged from choir groups, singers. I went to a drug rehab program in town for the homeless, and I also started going around and trying to meet and have conversations with military drill teams. And eventually decided the best population was the JROTC at the high school level. They seemed more innocent and pure, and they were younger, and in some ways powerful, but also vulnerable. We talked about of synchronized body movement and the group, and eventually decided on a group of 12 to come to the Bemis and work. I had them navigate in a space that they don't typically navigate in. Typically they work in open floor, open area, so they can move in whatever direction the leader's sort of calling them to move. So if they turn right, they don't hit a wall or a column. And in the Bemis, in the installation room I had them work in, there were columns sprinkled throughout the floor, and that was one of the things I was really interested in, having them work in that specific space and do things they wouldn't normally do. I had them march straight towards a wall and stop and hold that position at the wall in this very strong, disciplined way, a way that actors couldn't do, only focused, sort of already synchronized physical group could do. So they came up with this really amazing form really quickly. I think they thought it was kind of just insane, like, why am I doing this? And we did have conversations afterwards about it, but I would have them march in, and they just came up with this really great sidestep, staggered 2 lines, and they sidestep in, and they're immediately wedged between this column, 12 individuals in like about 12 feet. I think it's always more exciting to be out of your own head and to work with others. There's more unexpected things that happen. There's things people bring to the table that you wouldn't necessarily bring. You know, I'm not interested in authorship and being the artist for the project. I'm really thinking about this group. We made this thing together. I think most of what I'm doing is at the edge of perception and or at the edge of our ability to sense and understand what we're looking at. And I typically take everything and try to push it to its limits. So I push it till it's barely visible or barely there, and then I try to pull it back from there and try to find that like subtle edge that it's just hovering, sort of like an illusion.